Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. We're so glad to have you here. We are having some audio issues with Ed's microphone, so he's going to log off and log back in. We did have a last minute change up on speakers today, so I apologize for that. Martha was not feeling so well and needed to step back. So hopefully you're not too disappointed. Ed is a great presenter. He'll be joining us again in just a moment when he's trying to fix his audio. So while we're doing that, if you could type in the question panel where you are joining from. I see Newman is coming in from Columbia, Missouri. Excellent. Nice to have you. Yusuf is actually coming in from India. It's nice to have you as well. Hopefully I said your name right. So while we're waiting for everyone to finish joining and to see if Ed's microphone will start working, again, just type in where you're coming in from. Sandy, it's nice to have you from Maine. Excellent. I love seeing the global audience. So it's amazing that India is on because it's not daylight there, is it? And Ed, I see your lips moving still, and I don't hear you. Let me see if there's something I can change on my end. Hopefully changing the headset might help. All right, we do have Alice from Boston, Massachusetts. Welcome. We do have a pretty good crowd coming in today, so we'll give everyone a minute, especially give Ed just a moment to get his audio working. We appreciate Ed jumping in at the last minute to present. He's a trooper.
Now can you hear me?
Ah, now we can hear you. Excellent. Nice to have you on, Ed. Thank you.
All right.
Yes. Always interesting when technology doesn't want to work with us, right?
I know. I'm glad I have two of everything.
Me too. Excellent, excellent. Well, we'll give everyone just another minute or so. Like I said, we do have quite a few people registered, and so we'll give them a few minutes to get logged in, get their audio working, maybe. Maybe everyone's having those audio issues. It's interesting how different it's been this past 2 weeks without so many people working remotely. Ed, do you normally work remote, or do you go into an office?
No, I normally work remotely.
Okay, same here.
There's an office nearby me. I've just never been to it.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. Do you have your slides and everything ready?
You want me to present them? Sure, I can do that. Give me 1 second, and I'll get down here. Okay. Sure, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm going to make you presenter.
Okay.
And that should allow you to start sharing your screen.
Okay. Hopefully that's working. And 1 second.
Not seeing it yet. Oh, there it is. Now I see it. Perfect.
Good deal.
We are seeing your presenter slides, though, not the show. You can switch your display or move them to the other screen. I'm not sure which you'd need to do.
You're just seeing, I see.
So you can change what you're sharing. If you already have your software on the other screen where the slides are, you can switch that. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Well, welcome everyone. So glad you're tolerating our slow start this morning. We do appreciate you being patient with us. So I have with me Ed, and I'm going to allow Ed to introduce himself, but I'm Michelle Rasmussen. I'm with the AEC, I'm the AEC Content Manager for Autodesk, the customer success organization. My job is to make sure that you have the information you need to do your job better and be more successful. So I make sure you have the learning content and things that you need. So Ed is our senior implementation consultant, and he is here to talk to us today about analysis in Revit MEP. So Ed, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you?
Sure. My name's Ed Hannibus. I'm based in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've been doing consulting now for about 13 years. Been with Autodesk for 10 years. Prior to that, I worked about 30 years in the industry, working primarily in the engineering disciplines, MEP and structural, and I've also done architectural and been a construction manager. So kind of been all over the place in the AEC industry.
And he flexes with the day. Like I said, we had a last minute change on presenters, so I want to first off thank Ed for being willing to take this on such short notice. So thank you very much. All right, go ahead and go to the next slide, and we'll just talk about some orders of business here. So just to let you know, the lines are muted, and that's just to reduce background noise, making sure, if you are suddenly working remote, you're not used to it, dogs are barking in the background, kids are screaming or asking for help with homework that they're suddenly doing from home. We want to make sure this is a nice, clean recording, so we do mute the lines. However, this is a meetup, and our meetups are meant to be more interactive. And so if you do have questions, I'll be watching the question panel and bringing those up to Ed as you have them, or if it makes sense to hold them to the end, I might hold them to the end. We'll see what questions come up. And if you would like me to open your line so that you can ask a question live, just raise your hand in that attendee panel and I can open up your line. At the end of the webinar, a link to the recorded session will be emailed out to everyone, so not to worry if you have to drop off or to help with kids with homework or something like that, you won't miss it. All right, go to the next slide there, Ed. Just as a reminder, we have several meetups that we hold, and you can see a list of them. They're on the same day every month. So the architectural is the fourth Tuesday of the month. This one, the BIM manager is the first Tuesday. Of course, we're working with the building engineering, which includes mechanical, electrical, and structural, that we rotate through different topics each month. That is on the fourth Thursday of every month. So if you have a desire to join any of the other meetups, definitely go take a look at that and register for any of them that makes sense to you. And go to the next slide. All right, so this meetup is actually connected to our MEP model analysis learning path in our Connected Learning Hub. And so if you would like to take a deeper dive into what Ed is showing today, or if you would like to try what he's showing, all of those courses in our Connected Learning experience are available with data sets. So you can actually download a data set and follow the instructions step by step to try what Ed is going to show. All right, next slide there, Ed. All right, so Ed, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm sure that they don't want to hear me talk anymore, so the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, I know we ask a lot of people to do some of the learning online if you could beforehand, but if you couldn't, I'm going to go through some of the same things that we did on some of the videos that you saw in the Learning Center about adding spaces, how to use a space naming tool. We're also going to look how you can use a schedule. And then we're going to look at how to look at your spaces and elevation and sections, and how to fix different volume issues, how to add space separators, and then understanding exactly what room bounding elements are. And then lastly, we'll create some plenum levels, and we'll add spaces between the floors to actually complete the analysis. All right, so I'm going to go here, and I've started up. And this is part of the data sets that we have online, if you will. So you'll see some of the same things here. This is a small medical office building that we have. It has a linked architectural and a linked structural model inside of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, and this is just a special view that we've set up to show spaces. Okay, so one of the first things you need to do before you can really get started in this is we need to find the architectural link model, which I've just selected it just here. And we need to go to edit type. And the thing that's real important in order to make all this work is we need to make it room bounding. What that means is that we can use the walls in the architectural model to help define our spaces that we're going to be placing throughout the model to help us with analysis. So after I've done that, the next thing I need to do is go to visibility graphics, which is VV or VG. And what I want to do is I want to scroll down here until I find spaces. And I want to expand it out here and make sure the interior part is filled out here so that we can actually see them when we place them. So I'm just going to click OK, and I'm going to scroll in here just a little bit. And I'll go up here to the Analyze tab. Now, what we can do is we have these things called spaces. What they do is they help define the area and the volume of a room that they're inside of. So I'm going to click on here, and I can go in, and as I get inside of a room, you see it automatically finds the walls and finds the boundary of the room. And I can just left click to place it here, just like this. Now, you notice I can select it here, and this shows all the properties. You'll see it has information for lighting, it has information for electrical loads, it gives us the area and the volume, and it also talks about the mechanical airflow. So a lot of information that the MEP engineers can use inside of these spaces. Now, I can place them one by one, or I can go up here and do space, and I'll say place them automatically. So I'll just left click here, and now it's telling us it's automatically created 53 spaces. Now, you'll also notice when I click on space here, I can tag all these as I place them. If I forget to do that, what I can do then is just come back here on my Annotate tab, and what I'll do is I'll say tag all, and I'll pick my space tags and click them just like this. Now, it's gone in and numbered and named all my spaces based on just the way they were put in. So now I've got all my spaces here created on the first floor, just like this. I can also go to the second floor and just repeat the same operation. So I can get out here, I can go to Analyze, Space, and this time I want to say Tag on Placement, and I'm going to place them all automatically. Now, it automatically created 32 spaces. Now, as we zoom into these, you'll see this is space 2084. If I click on this and scroll down here, you'll notice that it says room number and room name is unoccupied. If I come down here to this one, let's go over here, we'll select this one, and now you'll see there's the room number and room name, but it doesn't match up with our space name and number. So this can get a little confusing if you're trying to do a one-to-one comparison between the architectural spaces and the mechanical spaces. So what we can do is we can go up here and use on the Analyze tab our space naming utility. This gives us the option to match up the names and numbers with the rooms. We can do names only or numbers only. I'm going to leave it at names and numbers, and I'm going to do all levels all at one time and just say OK. Now you're going to see some of these have duplicate number values. That's OK for right now. I'm going to go through here, and now you'll see it's renumbered these and also renamed all the spaces so they match the architectural names. I'll go back here to the ground floor, and you can see the same thing here. So now I've got them all placed. I've got the names and numbers matching up. I want to come down here now, and let's do a little bit more analysis. And I'm going to come down here to my schedules. Oh, let's go down here, and I'm going to open up. I have a space schedule. Now we can see a listing of all the spaces, names, numbers, room numbers. We see their area. We're going to see this condition type, construction type, and where they're at. Now, this is kind of confusing. It's not very organized very well. I'm just going to go here and edit the sorting and grouping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first organize them by level. So then I'll go here, and then perhaps I want to do them by number. So I could go here and do them by number, just like this, and say OK. Now you can see, oh, I forgot to do one thing, just to make it a little bit easier. So I want to put a header in here just so I could see where the separation is. And you'll still notice I've got them now all labeled by their number. And I'm going to say OK. Now I can see they're a little bit more organized. And I can see their actual names. I can see the room names and the room numbers here. All right. So now as I scroll down here, I'll notice, well, this space here is very small. Okay, let's go see, let's see what happens here. If I can click on this space just like this and go highlight and model, and it's going to automatically take me to that space. And I'm going to zoom out and I'll see it's just a column, right? So I probably don't want to include that when I'm actually doing any calculations on this. So let's go back here. Now I can come in here and I can rename that and say I want to just call it column, just like that, okay? And I won't go over here, and you're going to see it's not going to be heated and cooled, you know, so I can change that, okay, to unconditioned, just like that, you know. So I could do that for each one of these. I see, so I would go here, and now it makes it easier for the next one. I can just type in C, and there's my column, just like that. And again, I can change these to unconditioned, you know, just like this. Now I'm not going to go through and do all those based on the time constraints that we have today. I am going to, you know, try to show you all the different things, but I'm not going to completely set this building up for us to do calculations. But I'm going to show you the steps that you would go through and in order to do just that. The other thing that is somewhat different about spaces, let's go back here before we go on. Let's go back here to this. So now, for instance, maybe I don't want to do a space here in the entry. So I'm going to go here like this, or maybe I don't want to do a space in one of these closets or one of these chases, something like that. So I can, you know, if there's some area that I don't want to include, like right here, here's my column again. And if I go and I hit the delete button and deletes it, you'll see it did delete it from the model view, but it's still in my project. Well, that can get somewhat confusing again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to undo it to bring it back in. And now I'm going to go back to my schedule. What I can do on this, if I don't want to include these, I can go here, go here, and I'm going to grab these just like this. So there's those right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the rows. Now, this will take them all the spaces out of my model. Excuse me. One nice thing about living in Texas is we may have the coronavirus, but we also have tons of allergies. So you may have to bear with me at times. All right, now we see this is 19 square feet. Well, I'm going to go look and see exactly what that is. And I'm going to highlight it in the model. And there it is right there. I see it's a chase. Okay, so I'm not going to be heating and cooling that. You know, so I'll probably want to annotate that or label it a little bit differently so I don't have to worry about getting confused with that later. So what I can do is, instead of calling, I can go here. And now I'm just going to call that a chase. Just like that. And I'll come over here and I'll label it as unconditioned. All right. So this is what we would go through. We would go through each floor. We would look at them and may have to analyze, again, some of these smaller ones that are just chases. You know, but we can go through and look at them all and start fine-tuning what our spaces really represent. All right. So I've kind of got to walk you through what you would do in order to set up each one of those. Now, let's go back here to the ground floor. Now I want to look a little bit differently. Look at this a little bit differently this time. So I'm going to go here and double click on the section head. All right. Now I'm going to look in here and you'll notice these rooms don't go all the way down to the floor. They stop at the level there. Well, in order to include the whole volume and get the correct information, I need to select them and adjust them. So I can do it several different ways. One, so I just select the X here and it gives me a grip and I can drag it down and you watch, I'm going to drag it past there. Oh, so it didn't get quite all the way. There we go. I'm going to drag it. And now you'll see I can get it. But that's not really real accurate, you know, trying to figure out exactly what that is. But if you'll notice down here, I have a base offset. Okay, so the upper limit is the ground floor. It's got a limit offset of 12'4", and I could go here and make that say -2 feet, just like that. And now it's gone all the way down to the floor in its exact measurement. So I could go through and do each one of these one by one, or I'll come back to the ground floor, and I'll come here and I'll just make a window. something just like this. Okay, and then I'm going to go up here and use my filter, and I just want to, I can say check none, and I'll just select the spaces, just like this. Now I can take and change all their base offsets to -2 feet all at one time without having to go through and select each one individually. Now I'm going to go back down here, and I can now see that they're all adjusted there. So I can look at by looking at my section here, I can see that how all these are filled up. But wait, this one didn't go all the way, these didn't go all the way to the top. Right? So what I can do there is I can take here and grab this, and I just pull it, I can pull it past. And because these ceilings and these roofs are room bounding, it automatically fills in correctly. And now I can come and do the same thing over here, just like this. Okay, so now I can see I've got them going all the way up, all the way to the roof. Now, this is one thing that we struggle with at times, is I want this really to go all the way up. Let's see if I can show you a better example. Let me go back to my ground floor here. There we go. And I'm going to take my section mark, and I'm going to move it, just let me move it back over here like this. And we'll get down here. Now I can come back here. And you'll notice here, because the ceiling, okay, is room bounding, okay, just like this. If I go through here, I can go and tab. Oops, didn't get quite far enough. There we go. There we go. And I can come over here and notice that's room bounding. Well, I can't change that in my model. The only way I could actually change it is to go and either ask the architect if he would please do that, or I would have to go and open the architectural model myself and actually go through and change that so that it wasn't room bounding, so it would fill in correctly. And that's also what's causing all the problems over here, is I have a small leak in through here through some of these windows because they're sloped. So I've kind of got a problem there. I've got to come and fix some way too, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And but you could see the rest of these have all filled in. But now I may want to take this one, and what I could do is, instead of saying here, I could say its upper limit, okay, is the second floor, and change its offset like that. And now I've accounted for for this whole area here between the two. All right. So that's how we can do adjustments. We have to kind of go through and verify exactly what we have in each one of these as we go through. Well, let's go up here to our second floor. Another option that we have here, like I said, what's causing the problems is these slanted windows. You see the space is going all the way out in through the windows. So what I can do is I can come here to the Analyze tab, and I'll create a space separator. I'll come here and I'll get it just somewhat. I don't have to worry about getting it exact. But now you can see my space is now stopping at the face of that wall, or those windows. And I would have to come down here and do the same thing again. Again, I don't have to be totally exact on where I ended at. I can go through and just set them up just like this. Now, if I come back over here to my section head, well, I'll just go here. Okay, my space section, I can now see that that's filled in properly, except where I have to make these and change them so they're no longer room bounding. So now I've got in and I've fixed that space right there. All right, so we come back here to our ground floor, maybe, there we go. All right, so I would have to go through, want to move my section around and kind of go through and look at this. So let's go over here, let's move it like right about here. All right, I'm going to come here. I'll look here and see what this looks like to make sure that we've got everything correct. There's our space there. Okay, you can see I also have my space set up here. And this is the area, the plenum area underneath, in between all the floors. So I also need to account for those in order to do correct analysis of everything. So one of the things that I can do is I can create a plenum level. And so what I will do here, I need to go up here to architecture. I'm going to come here to level. and I want to make sure it's set to plenum level. And you'll notice I can draw a line or I can pick a line. Well, I'm going to change it to pick. I'm going to zoom in here just like this, and I'm going to get the top of that ceiling right there, and just click it and change it right there. Now what I'm going to do is take this and I'm going to drag it over just so I can get out here where I can see a little bit better. And what I'll do is I'll rename this and call this a ground floor plenum or something like that. All right. And I'll just change it. And I'm also going to change and rename the corresponding views. All right. So now I'm going to come over here and you'll see ground floor plenum listed right here over my project browser. I'm going to double click on that. Now, this is not working out quite the way that I want it to. Doesn't quite look the right way. And the problem is I'm going to come here and I'm going to edit its view range. Well, I don't need it to be 7'6" tall. I need the top to actually be, okay, second floor above, the 0 offset. And my cutting plane, that's too high because the area's not that big. I'm going to change it to like a foot. And then I'm just going to click OK. Now we can start to get a better feel for how this looks. Right? I could also, if I wanted to make it look a little bit cleaner, you'll notice it's also set to mechanical. And so, you know, I could come in and then I could actually change this or change the discipline. I lost it here. Sorry about that. Oh, I have a view template. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change that to none, just so I can get there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and change this to coordination, just so I get a better, cleaner look at it. That's all. So I'll go here and I'll change it to coordination. All right. Now my walls are a little bit darker, just a little bit easier to see. All right. Now I want to go to visibility graphics. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that my spaces are in fact turned on, the interiors. All right, I need to go and check and put those on there. Now I can see these are some of the spaces that came all the way up. Those are the ones that we pulled up and adjusted. Hey, you can see I have them here. There's my elevator shaft. No, so I can see there it is there. Right, now, if I want to check and fill in the rest of these, what I can do is I can go to Analyze, I'll go to Space, and I'll say Place Spaces automatically. All right, now it's going to tell us that some of them are overlapping. That's all right for right now. Okay, so now I have my spaces in here. Well, what happened here? Let's go see what happened. That interiors. Color fills, okay, should be able to see them. Okay, now what I'm gonna have to do is I've got some of them that got created here, some of them I'm having trouble seeing, but what happened here? Nothing got placed inside of here. Well, let's go here and we'll click and we'll try to place it manually. This is telling me they can't find a boundary to actually to place itself inside of. I'm just gonna place it in, and you're going to see it's going to tell me it's not in a properly enclosed region. Well, just briefly, the way I would fix that, we would go back and use that space separation line again. So I could come in here, and I'm doing this real rough, just to give you an idea. You don't have to do it a little bit cleaner if you were actually doing it. I'm going to go there and place a line there. And then what I've got to do is I've got to come over here, and I've also got to place another line, just like this, and I haven't got it filled in all the way yet. Right, so what I have to do is I have to take this and I'm going to drag this up past that wall. Right, and I still don't have it quite all the way done, and I would take it and I would drag it just like this. All right, so once we do that, then I still haven't got something quite figured out here. Let's see what let me do this. I don't know what it is. I just got a little bit messy there. I'm going to go here like this and just draw it all the way down like that. All right. Well, and I didn't carry that one. Did I carry that one up far enough? That one should have. Let me see if I can move it over to here. It's just not going to let me do it today. This is what's always fun about doing live demonstrations, is it doesn't always work. All right, so let me try something here. I'm not quite sure why it's not filling in all the way, but it's not going to find the boundary today. All right, but if I had more time, I could go and investigate this. But this is the approach you would take when you're trying to do this, to adjust these spaces and actually you can manually create a boundary. You know, I mean, to see if I can just show you real quick, just to show just what it should do. And then I'll go something like this. There we go. All right. So that's letting me know that I've now filled in by creating those space separators. So you can, if it doesn't always work automatically, you'll have to come back in and find some other little problems. So there's a little problem, see, with this wall right here. I can see there's a space stuck in there. So some other little things I'd have to fine tune this in order to make sure all of this worked whenever I went through this. So now, as we have our spaces created, I wanted to carry this just a little bit further than what you saw in some of the, if you saw it in the classes. And what I wanted to show you is, I'm going to go back to my first floor. All right. So what's the purpose of these spaces? Like I said, they help us do calculations. All right, we can do lighting calculations. Now we can't do point-to-point calculations within Revit, but we can get our general lighting, we can set our lighting calculation work plane. And as we place lights in this, it'll actually tell us how much foot candles that we have inside of here. Revit works in reverse. It works in that I need to place in lights and I need to place in diffusers, and it'll actually start filling in the values inside of what's inside of each one of these rooms. Now, where some people get confused on this is I'm going to click on this one over here, and I'm going to look here, and I'll see it's heated and cooled, it's occupied, okay, and the space type is building. Well, what does that really mean? I'm going to click here like this. So it's set up by the building, so this is all the values that it's going to use for calculations. All right, but I can go in and change this to, it's an office space. So I can come in and I can say, oh, it's office enclosed, and that changes the values. And all of these are adjustable. So I can make changes to these as I need to. So now I've changed that so that it's an office, okay, instead of just inheriting the values for the whole building. Now let's go over to construction type. Now what this is, and this again, some people get confused about this, okay, is that this really has nothing to do with what the architect really created. What this does is this lets the MEP engineer specify what they want the building to be constructed like, or the office. Okay, so I can come in here and I'll create a new, just like this. I can call it construction, whatever I want to call it here. All right. Once you do that, then you're allowed to come in here and adjust the values. What kind of roof? What if we wanted to try a different kind of roof in setting this up? Okay, so we can go through here like this and make adjustments to the roof, interior walls, what kind of ceilings it has, doors, lights, are there any skylights, so I can go in and make changes to all of these and set it up for a new construction type. All right, so that's something, and you also can do this in your template. If I go up here, MEP settings, there's my building space and space types. And there they are. You can create new building types. You can also go here and create new space types or delete some, make adjustments to them, whatever makes sense for what kind of calculations that you want to do. Now, once you have all of these values and things set here, right, you can then take this out and export this. Right, so I can go and I can export, right, to GBXML. And so what this allows me to do is take these out so they can be used by external analysis programs, whether it be for lighting, whether it be for HVAC design, There are a couple of programs that allow you to go bi-directional. Some do, some do not. There are a couple for each one, lighting and for HVAC, that are bi-directional. Some of them have direct plugins that come inside of Revit also. So these are things that you have to do to clean up your model. Okay. You can go, like I say, and show the information that you have here. Okay, so you can look at it and you can, actually go and examine each space. You can renumber them, we can rename them in here. Okay, so I can rename them. I can change whether they're heated and cooling. I can also make those same things as far as space selection, space type right here. So I don't have to go through and pick everyone individually in the plans. This is where I can use my schedule to help me make changes to my model. So this is a more efficient way to do it, so that you're actually going through and you're able to see everything all at one time and get rid of things you don't need. Maybe you'll notice if I'm looking in through here, just like this. Okay, if I look at this, I got 2 elevators. So I got one there. I also have one on the 2nd floor. Well, we know that's not true. Okay, so let's go here and let's highlight that in the model. So there we go. So you'll see I've got 2 spaces there in the same spot. And so I can go and so I would want to get rid of this one. Okay, so I could delete it here. Like I said, that's still telling me there. And then all I would have to do is come back down to my ground floor now. There we go. And I would have to either adjust in section, or I can go here, and instead of saying the upper limit is the ground floor, I can take it all the way to the roof. So this is another way that we can make changes to our spaces. We've got something there that's overlapping. Looks like I got another one in there. But it's showing you how there's all the different ways we can go through and make adjustments to our spaces to get a more accurate representation of everything. So we would use our schedules. We would come in here and we use our section, so we can go through and make sure that everything is lining up properly. What spaces that we missed. Okay, so you see we still have some small adjustments to make it through here. And then, like I said, by using our schedule, we can then come in and make other changes there. All right. Well, I think that's all that I have for today. Do we have any questions?
I don't have any questions in the Q&A panel at the moment, so if you do have questions, definitely type those into the question panel, or you can raise your hand in the attendee panel and I will open up your line and see if you can ask your question live. It's pretty quiet today.
Well, we don't know how many people we have. I mean,
yes.
Everyone's working from home.
Exactly. Okay, so one question came in, is this being recorded? Yes, it is absolutely being recorded, and you can always go back and watch that later. You'll receive a link to the recording at the end. It'll probably come back through tomorrow once we process the video. All right, another question came in. Please show the function where spaces take the names of rooms.
Okay. Let me show screen. There we go.
Okay.
All right. So the functionality there is, let's see. Well, I have to go here. Would be under analysis, and it's in the space naming under analyze. And again, you get to pick and choose whether you want names and numbers, names only, numbers, and you can pick all the levels that you want to do. You can specify individual levels, or you can do all levels at once. So it's an automated tool. We used to have to do lots of workarounds for this, but now they've got it built into the software so that it does it for you automatically.
A follow-up question came in. What standards do the default values for the building and space types come from?
They all come from ASHRAE. that I can't remember the exact number right now. I'll have to get back to some people on that. You can also, that's the reason they allow you though to go in and make changes through your settings here, right? So that you can go through and change the values if you have different standards or different, either local or national standards that you're working with, so that you can make adjustments as you go through like this also.
And another question's come in. Could you show how you got to the room building box again? Or no, sorry, room bounding box.
Oh, okay, sure. So what you have to do is you have to zoom out here like this until I can see my big blue box, and you'll see it says it's the architectural model. That's what that A is. And I would click on it. I would go to edit type, and there's where I would make it room bounding, because the MEP model doesn't actually have any walls in it. So we're reaching into the linked architectural model to make it, to pull its walls in so we can actually use them when we're doing, to know where the spaces are.
Okay, great. And Robert's asking the question, I'd like to know more about why it's necessary to create plenum spaces.
Because you're still going to need to use those when you're actually doing your calculations, so that and it's reporting it as that plenum space for when you're doing your HVAC calculations. That's all. That's the purpose of filling these in here, so all the spaces are accounted for.
Okay.
Yeah, I would actually go in through here. Oops, like this. There we go. And you'll see it's unoccupied. Okay, it's not occupied. I would come here and I would actually change that to a plenum, so that when you export it out, it knows that this is a vacated space, and you're accounting for all the volumes inside of the building also.
Okay, great. Lucas is asking the question, if the architect puts all the information about the spaces in the project, where do I find such information?
You want to know, like, oh, if he puts the walls and things like that in it?
Let me actually open up Lucas's line and see.
Yeah.
Okay, Lucas, your line is open. Do you mind specifying your question a little bit more for Ed? Are you able to speak with us, Lucas? I'm not sure if you have a microphone or not.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm speaking from Germany.
Okay.
Thank you, Ed, for the webcast. I wanted to know if the architect put that information about the walls, about the rooms, about the spaces in the project. And I import that project as a Revit import or something, or IFC imports. Can I see this information about the rooms, about the walls, that I can?
You know the easy answer or the hard answer?
The hard, please.
Okay, the hard answer would be you'd have to come in here just like this, and I would have to go through and tab and select that wall and find out what it is.
Okay.
So I'd have to go to each type of wall. I'd have to go through the ceilings, the roofs. Let's see if I can get to there. There we go. Because I could see each one of these. I can't edit them, but I could see what they're made out of.
Yeah.
So I can actually reach into the architectural model. And well, if you want to do a little bit faster even, what you would do is you would come up here. I just thought of this, and I would create a schedule just like this, say for walls. And I'll go for walls, just like that. And what I'll do is I'll include elements in the links. Then I could come through and get the wall types. I could get, what kind of family it is. I can also get the structural material, so I could get it this way by creating a schedule and reaching into the architectural model, and I could start to see all of it like that too. Does that help?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that's a much faster way to do it. I just thought, I'm sorry, I was thinking on my feet there and just came up with
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Lucas. All right, and so another question came in. How do spaces that are defined by room bounding get their exposure parameters? For instance, are they external or internal exposures?
Okay. On as far you're talking about how do they know what they are?
I believe so. Let me see if I can open up that line.
How does it know it's an external wall?
Yes. Yeah. How do they know if they're external or internal exposures?
Okay. So when you export this out for analysis, or when you can actually do the analysis inside the room, the space defines all the openings. So it actually it has all the openings for you, and it also it's able to determine whether it's an exterior or interior wall. And a lot of it is done whenever you create space, the way it senses if there's something on the other side of this over here. It knows if there's nothing there, it knows there's an exterior wall. And like I said, if you, for any external analysis programs, what Revit does for you is on almost every one of them is it goes and it gives you all the information about the openings and whether it's an interior or exterior wall. And like I say, it shows the mass of each wall and any openings that are in it. And that's just part of the functionality of the spaces.
Great. All right, I'm going to open up his line because, and I am afraid to even attempt your name. It's our friend from West Africa. And so I've opened up your line. Do you mind pronouncing your name for me so I don't murder it?
I'll give you the easy one. My name is Ayo. I'm calling from Lagos, Nigeria. Right, you got it right first time. Now, I remember that Ed was showing us earlier on. He wanted to place a space, and the space could not find the wall, so he used room bounding lines. Is that what they're called?
Space separation.
Space separation lines. That's what I was looking for. Now, how do spaces like that detect whether they're external or internal exposures?
Okay, in order to actually and like I say, I did this real quickly in order to make it work. That just so I wouldn't go through all of this. They wouldn't by plenum level. There we go. Okay, on this here, what would typically happen is I would define this and I would draw it along a group of walls. So what I really need to do is I need to take and draw that space separation line along those walls like this. So I would get it exact. It's very tedious. When I was practicing this, it's very tedious to actually do that. And so then it knows that the walls are there. So it's still able to detect it.
So it's still able to detect the walls even though you're using space separation lines?
Right. See, that's what I would typically do, is something like that. Yes.
Okay. All right. Actually, the reason why I asked is that if you had the architect provide you with AutoCAD drawings rather than a Revit model, and you still wanted to model spaces for whatever reason, then you might want to use space separation lines to define where the spaces ended. And I was wondering if you ran an analysis like that, would it be able to differentiate between external and internal exposures?
I don't think you'd get a very accurate model that way.
Okay.
Yeah. What I would say, if you, in other words, you're not getting a three-dimensional model from the architect.
Yes. Okay. You're getting a series of Revit drawings. And okay. I remember the last session had to do with using Revit drawings. I'm sorry, AutoCAD drawings, right, as a basis for MAP modeling in Revit.
Right. And what most of my clients do when they do that situation is, if you go up here, if they'll actually remodel the model. And what they'll do is, you see, if you go here for wall architectural, they don't draw any walls. They pick lines. And you pick lines through the architectural, through the AutoCAD drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes it a lot more work, but you're going to get a much more accurate model that way.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. All right, and we have one more question come in from Robert. Have you had any success with getting the building envelope elements to translate through GBXML export import?
Okay, so when you export them, what now the one I'm most familiar with is Train Trace. It's the one that I've used the most. You actually get all this information from the model. It gives you, it creates your rooms. What it does. You still have to put in all the other analysis information inside of it. But instead of you going to your analysis program and having to create the room, what this does is this actually gives you that information, and then you have to go and make those changes inside the analysis software in order to get all the information that you need. And with Train Trace, you can then bring that information back into Revit, and what it'll actually do is it'll come in and it will do all these and fill in all this design information for your airflows. So you'll notice right now we have, you know, actual, and then we have calculated. So you'll actually get it back with this information filled in. But some of the rest of them I don't think go bi-directional. And for the people who do lighting, there are several programs. The one that has probably the most interaction with Revit is, and I'm not trying to do advertisement, but is Eloom Tools. It has a direct plug-in that will let you work directly inside of Revit to do your lighting calculations, and it will do point to point.
Okay, great. And one last question. Does the space use the walls properties to determine the insulation properties of the walls?
No, it does not. That's the reason I was trying to show you this, is you have to go and pick what the walls are. So you actually have to go in. So it doesn't know what the architect put in there. Right? It's doing it by those definitions that we have specified over here. And the logic behind that is that allows you to do what if scenarios to get a better solution than, so you could recommend, hey, if you change this to another type of roof, you're going to have better, you know, HVAC, you're going to have better circulation or things within the building by doing this. So it allows you to go and try different construction methods.
Great. And can you remind everyone the name of that lighting product again?
It's called Eloom Tools, E-L-U-M. And it actually comes in as a direct plug-in inside of Revit.
Great. All right. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any other questions. Oh, I did actually. Have you ever used Dynamo to manage your spaces, like populating the parameters in spaces to modify the spaces until the plenum?
I have not personally done it. No, I haven't.
Okay. Excellent. And that is all the questions that I see at the moment. So thank you everyone for being willing to ask the questions, especially those that I turned your microphones on and let you ask live. I really appreciate the dialogue that we are able to have that way. Ed, I want to thank you especially for doing this presentation. You did a wonderful job. It's always a pleasure to work with you.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah,
it was a great day.
Absolutely, and everyone is saying thank you very much. It was very useful, so kudos, great job. And next month, our topic is going to roll back to electrical because I couldn't find a structural presenter for April. So we will roll back to electrical next month, and then the month after that, we'll talk structural. So if you would like to join us for those topics, definitely register, ping me, ask any questions you have on it, and we'll make sure that our presenters are ready to go. So thank you everyone for your time today. Thank you, Ed, for the presentation, and we'll catch you next month.
All right.